So we have installment number 2 for horrible movies this week on my YouTube channel.
Sorry, I interrupt.
On the contrary, you've arrived just in time.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Aiden Cossack, and today, of course, we're going to be talking about Hellboy, the remake of the Guillermo del Toro movies, and of course, those were based off of the Dark Horse graphic novels Hellboy, which, honestly, I'm not very familiar with Hellboy, so I'm not going to be able to give you guys as much of an in-depth breakdown of some of the source material and where this kind of comes from. I've maybe read like 15 Hellboy comics when I was like 8 years old, when I really shouldn't have been. Meanwhile, I was watching the Hellboy movies like I really shouldn't have been. But before I start this review, I really want to give you guys my point of view where I stand with Hellboy. I love those Guillermo del Toro movies. I absolutely love them. I know that Golden Army gets a lot of hate, but I love those movies. And I really wanted to see what that third Guillermo del Toro movie would have been like. But, I mean, he was requesting like $300 million or some crazy number from the studio. And, of course, they just couldn't go with it. It wouldn't have made any money. Thus, spawning the reboot that we have. And I was a little skeptical going into it at first because, well, I didn't want a reboot. I wanted Ron Perlman again. I wanted Guillermo del Toro. I didn't want to see what somebody else's vision looked like. And I was a little skeptical going into this because, I wanted that third Hellboy movie. I wanted to see how his trilogy ended, and I was a little nervous going into the reboot because I didn't know who was going to be attached. But the moment we got David Harbour announced, and we saw that first photo of him as Hellboy, I was convinced. I was in. I was all in. And we had heard that we were going to get this dark, gritty tone Hellboy, and I was all into it. And that first trailer came out, and it didn't do anything for me. And I honestly just refused to watch any of the other ones because I knew they were just going to be the studios trying to win our hearts back. And this movie is a big, heaping pile of but I loved it. And I know that that's a little hypocritical to say considering how much I really dug into Little, but this movie is so ridiculous and so bonkers. It's crazy that somebody okayed this movie. Don't take me saying that I love this movie as a good thing. This movie is horrible. It is damn near unwatchable. But after 10 minutes of this movie, I said, I know what this is going to be, and I'm either going to sit here and bitch and moan for the next 2 hours, or I'm hopping in on this ride, and what a ride this movie is. It is horrendous. I mean, some of the CGI in this movie is Scorpion King level horrendous. Look, The Lion King is your standard for CGI right now. That movie looks amazing. Stop, Hellboy. Stop. Stop. I'm pretty sure this movie had the exact same budget as the original Hellboy. And you can go back and watch the original Hellboy that came out when I was 4 years old. I'm 19. This movie came out 15 years ago, and it looks better than the one that came out today. This movie has some serious tone issues. I never knew if this movie was trying to be a comedy, if it wanted to be a horror, if it wanted to be an action thriller, if it wanted to be a fantasy, if it wanted to be a serious political spy drama. I mean, the entire movie, I found myself audibly laughing out loud at what was happening in the movie. It felt like 3 9-year-old boys got together, read a whole bunch of Hellboy's best issues, and said, What would it be cool? We could get Hellboy to ride a dragon. Yeah, we could do this, and we could do that. And it was just off the wall insane. It's almost as if they knew that they weren't going to get a sequel going into this movie, which, by the way, there are 2 post-credit scenes. I don't really understand them, but there's 2 post-credit scenes for the Hellboy fans out there, so be sure to stay all the way to the very end. But it's like they knew they weren't getting a sequel, so they were like, throw everything in that we can. They had a bin with every idea, and they dumped all of it into this movie, and it's just a hodgepodge of crap that they came up with. Along with some of those tone issues, there's a lot of just gore in this movie for no reason other than to say that we have gore. I mean, it's just kind of to the point where it's just kind of gross. I'm not really one of those people. Like, I like gore. I like gross things. This movie did it in a way where it was way more style than it was substance. You know, in certain movies like Seven, where you have gore and it has an impact on the story and it makes you feel genuinely sick. This movie just does it to kind of just because they can. Some of the acting in this movie is pretty bad. It's not the worst acting that I've seen, but some of the better acting in this movie is definitely David Harbour. I knew he was going to be a great Hellboy going into this. He's really kind of the only thing that kept me along with this. I honestly think if David wasn't as good in this role as he needed to be, I couldn't get behind this movie, and it definitely would have been in that unwatchable category for me. But because of him in this movie, it really elevated it for me, and it made it watchable. Sasha Lane and Daniel Day Kim are also fine in this movie. Daniel Day Kim kind of has more of a reason to be in this movie, but Sasha Lane's character just kind of falls into it. There's no real reason for her to be there at all. And the backstory that they kind of give you as to why she's in this story and what her role is just so stupid. But the acting that really stood out in the worst way possible was Mila Jovovich, if I'm saying that correctly. I know I say that all the time, but I have a really bad time with names, so don't judge me. She was awful in this movie. Honestly, it's the worst performance I've seen all year. It beats out those Dumbo kids, I'll tell you that. A good majority of those out loud laughs that I got from this movie were definitely due to her and some of her reactions that she has in this movie. I'm still saying, what studio exec watched the dailies for this and said, yeah, this is good. No wonder the embargo lifted the day that this movie came out. Like I said, this movie is definitely terrible, but if you're wanting to smoke a bowl before you go see this movie, if you want to get a couple beers at the movie, you want to sit down, have a good group of friends with you, and just go be completely and utterly entertained by how crazy and bonkers that this movie is, you will have a great time. Don't go into this thing with any expectations of getting a great comic book movie. You will not get that. I guarantee you, you will not get that. But it's so much fun if you can just sit there and turn your brain off. The third act is a complete mess. It doesn't end well. It's awful. I don't know how many more times I can reiterate that. It's just mind-bending, stupid fun. That's all it is, and that's all you're going to get out of this. If I had to rate it, I'd probably have to rate it like a 3 out of 10. It's going down with Batman and Robin. It's going down there. It's awful. But thank you guys so much for watching this whole video and watching me just ramble on about how much fun that this movie really was. Definitely be sure to like, subscribe, hit the comments below. Tell me, what did you guys think about it? Are you guys looking forward to it? All that good stuff. Hit my social media links in the description below so that you guys can stay up to date with everything I have going on in my personal life and what I like to tweet about and what I like to post on Instagram. And be sure to hit the notification bell so that you guys can stay up to date on everything going on in this YouTube channel. And thank you guys so much and have a good day.